You know that shirt in your closet that you just wish you bought 2 of because you love it so much? Well, you can have 2 of them. My name's Christine, and today I'm going to show you how to clone your clothes because pattern drafting is always easier when you know your clothing is going to fit. And tank tops are the best piece of clothing to practice cloning your clothing with because you don't have to worry about sleeves and they have minimal pieces to draft. I'm cloning one of my own tank tops today because it's super cute and comfortable. Start by drafting the pattern. If your front or back has a seam down the center, like the back of this tank top, you can lay it flat and trace all along the edge of that pattern piece. I like to use plastic bags for this step because I don't care about destroying them and they're a little bit see-through, which makes tracing through them easier. And plastic bags are a lot easier to pin through than paper. And I use Sharpie to trace all along the outside edge of my seams, not worrying about seam allowance. But if the front or back of your shirt does not have a seam down the center and it's one solid piece like this one, then find that center line and fold it in half. And match up your armholes and hemline. And when you trace your pattern piece, make sure you mark your fold line. It's also helpful to label your pattern pieces. And if your shirt has any design elements that you want to incorporate into your cloned clothing, like this skull face, then make sure you trace those as well. And you can even alter the design a little bit to make it easier to recreate. And once you have all your pattern pieces laid out, you need to determine what type of fabric your shirt is made of, stretchy or not stretchy, so you can pick out an appropriate fabric to recreate it in. I'm going to be using some of my husband's old undershirts that have holes and stains on them. But first, I need to cut out all the holes and stains from these shirts. And then sew those remaining pieces together to create a swath of fabric to cut my pattern out of. Fold your fabric in half and line the fold line of your pattern up with the folded edge of your fabric for your symmetrical pieces. Then make sure you add seam allowance when cutting out your pattern. And you may need to lay out the rest of your pattern pieces individually. Since the strap portion of this tank top is a different fabric, I also want to use a different fabric for the strap portion of my cloned tank top. So I'm going to be using the strap portion from this old tank top I have that I've already torn up to use as patch fabric for another project. And since these shirts are so similar, I don't have to make a pattern. I can just cut along the edge of my seam allowance. And instead of doing a skull on each side of my tank top like the red one, I'm just going to do one skull and I'm going to cut it out with the green fabric. This part is like carving a pumpkin. I also want to sew this skull decal onto the front of my shirt before I sew the shirt together so it's easier to feed through my machine. So I pinned the decal to the front of the shirt, hand basted it on, and then sewed it with my machine. Well, that worked, but not as well as I had hoped. My bobbin tangled on the inside of the machine and that snagged my shirt, tearing it. Just a little itty bitty hole. So I darned it and we're just gonna have to say my skull face has a beauty mark. And once you have all your pattern pieces laid out, it's time to sew your shirt together. Usually you want to start with shoulder seams. I'm starting with my 2 back pieces because they need to be sewn together to create one back piece. Then the back lines up with the straps and the side seams can be sewn together on each side. And at this point you're almost done. You just have to do the finishing touches like binding the edges and hemming the bottom. clothes. I know you guys were asking me, how do I clone my clothes? And this is basically it. I just play around with the patterns, I play around with the fabrics, I change the design up a bit, and then it comes out kind of similar to the old one, but still fits really well because I had a good structure to base it on. Obviously, it's better to start with a pattern that is simpler, doesn't have as many steps, doesn't have as many seams, and has a really easy fabric for you to work with. But that said, I don't sew a lot with knit fabric, so this was a bit of a difficult project for me, and it kept getting jammed in my sewing machine, and my bobbin kept having all kinds of problems, but it was worth it. I like the way this shirt came out. I'm happy with the end result, and I was able to figure out how to get past the little beauty mark spot here. I think the silhouette of this shirt came out perfectly. It looks just like the silhouette on my old shirt. And it is equally as comfortable to wear. It's actually a little more comfortable because the way I added this binding actually shrank the neckline a little bit. And so it's actually a little bit more modest, which I like. And I really love the way these serger lines came out because I was really trying to be particular and making them kind of symmetrical but not too symmetrical because I was really going for one of those unpolished vibes. I also think the green is a really fun touch, especially since it plays into the little jack-o'-lantern skull face. And other than this shirt being white, I think it's really flattering on me and it's super comfortable, so I'm gonna wear it a bunch. And please leave a like on this video if you like the shirt I made today. And let me know down in the comments below if you have any other questions on how to clone your clothes. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see me make some more fun clothing. Thank you so much for watching my video today. I will see you guys next week.